Juan Soto has agreed to a 15-year, $765 million contract with the New York Mets. He has agreed to leave the New York Yankees. The Yankees' best offer sounds like it came in at 16 years, $760 million. A little bit surprised the Yankees had a little bit higher total value, but the extra year, of course, lowers the average annual value. But great deal here for Juan Soto. We'll dig into all of that and more here at the Upside Sports Network. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Incredible news coming out of Major League Baseball. We expected the news to happen tonight, and it has. New York Mets get their guy. Steve Cohen's pockets are certainly helping out the New York Mets as they gain the top free agent in this year's class. Juan Soto, 15 years, $765 million, becomes immediately their best player in their lineup. I know they had this runner-up to the MVP last year in Francisco Lindor in their lineup already, but Soto is the better player. He's just entering his prime, and this is the dynamic player this Mets team really needed to push this team forward and compete with the LA Dodgers on the West Coast. Now, the Yankees, of course, are going to pivot quickly here. No deferred money in the deal, according to multiple reports, and it happens just after we log off. Literally 5 seconds after I log off on my video saying, hey, we'll come back live if anything happens, and boom! Juan Soto, Jeff Passan announces it. 15 years, $765 million. I can't tell you how far I threw something I was holding in my hand the second I saw that pop up across my screen as I'm turning everything off for a few minutes. Oh my goodness. But what a deal it is. That's what we were waiting for here from the winter meetings. And boy, does this get things going with a bang here at the start of the 2025, it's getting late. 2024 winter meetings. What a great start here. Juan Soto is the second free agent to agree with a deal. Michael Conforto, obviously a much lesser player. 1 year, $17 million to go to the Dodgers. 15 years, $765 million. The the largest contract anybody has ever signed in Major League Baseball history. Incredible get here. And thank you guys for joining us once again. JG, couldn't agree with you more. Paul, right there with you. JG, Yankees going after Bregman now. I'd imagine that's immediately who they're going to pivot to. Let's go ahead and dig into some of these comments out there on X floating around. Always December 8th. Why? Alrighty, so here's the deal. Jeff Passan announced it 10 minutes ago. That's when I saw that headline go off. 15 years, $765 million. Soto left Yankees for $5 million. No, it's an extra year that the Yankees are wanting to do to spread it out. Understandably, they could, of course, add another year on the end of it with the Mets here, and it might end up being like $45 million difference. That's kind of what I thought the number would ultimately have to be for the Mets to be able to lure him away from the New York Yankees. Say the deals were equal. Say that the Mets had offered him 16 years. That would put it roughly around $800 million. It would be incredible if he gets to those numbers. By the way, look at this escalators here. No deferred money, and has escalators that could reach it above $800 million. Say he wins an MVP in there. I'm imagining one of those escalators is going to be that escalator that he wins an MVP. Say they win a World Series. I'm sure there's an escalator in there for that. Sure, there's escalators in there for games played, vesting options, as far as contract bonuses, all those kinds of things for games played, finishing in the MVP race, silver sluggers, all those kinds of things. It's an absolute monster contract, something we have never seen in Major League Baseball. Sure, Ohtani signed 10 years, $700 million. Incredible value. But it has so many deferrals in that, the average annual value really is more like around $46 million. This deal, I believe is what I saw was $51 million, if I remember correctly. I saw from somebody here. Let me see here. I think it was 51. Somebody had done the math on it. I don't see it on there, though. Anyway, incredible deal here. Goldschmidt to Texas Bold prediction. I know he's too old, but Rangers need a good DH year one. I want him back. Or I want a period of bounce back. I do agree he's a good bounce back. But let's focus on the story here. Juan Soto going to the Mets. Just boom. Like, wow. This is what I was hoping for when I was looking at the winter meetings. Let's look at some crazy things that could happen. What would have to happen for things to really get off to a rip-roaring start? Item number one on the wish list for the winter meetings was to have Juan Soto sign early. That would either be the day leading up to the winter meetings or Sunday of the winter meetings. That way they would announce it on Tuesday. I told you guys. I told you. They wanted Scott Boras wanted to get this thing done so he could stand on the podium with his guy like we had seen years and years and years ago with Albert Pujols. And he just wanted to be vindicated for how his name was dragged through the mud. And he had so many free agents that he was going to be able to do that with a number of free agents. But the guy that you want to do that with is the best in that group to sign the richest contract ever in Major League Baseball history. I told you it was going to happen by Tuesday, that we were going to have the press conference with Juan Soto sitting there, the New Jersey, putting it on. Scott Boras saying, yep, this is what I can do for you, boys and girls. Come on down. Come on. Kiss the ring. Who's the best agent you've ever seen in Major League Baseball history? That's right, Scott Boras. 15,765. Come on now. We heard all the comments from about a year ago saying, Scott Boras had not learned his lesson. He was pushing things too far. I want to hear those makeup comments in my comment section. This is an incredible deal. I don't care if you're a Yankees fan, a Mets fan, a Dodgers fan. If you like the signing, if you don't like the signing, you have to agree that this is some incredible work by Scott Boras. And understandably, things did not go well last year. Things were not looking great. But ultimately, he got a great deal for his guy, Blake Snell, who everybody thought got job last year. He still got $30 million last year pitching for the San Francisco Giants. And oh, by the way, got to opt out. And now with no qualifying offer hanging over his head, he signs with the LA Dodgers. Incredible money. Third highest AAV at the time. This is the highest AAV there's ever been in the sport now with Juan Soto. And Scott Boras signed both of those deals within 2 weeks before the winter meetings. And now we're at the winter meetings, the Sunday night Hall of Fame announcement. You give a couple hours for those Hall of Famers to get their due. And then boom, 9:15, there comes the announcement. Literally 2 hours to the number after the announcement of the two guys going to the Hall of Fame, Dick Allen and Dave Parker, by the way. Those guys get in. Congratulations. But this story today is going to be all about Juan Soto and what he does for the Mets. Now, just getting over the shock of the number, what it looks like, what the Mets are going to do next, what are the next steps? What does this do for the Yankees? Who do they pivot to? Red Sox, now that they got an answer on Soto, what do they turn to? Same thing for the Blue Jays. Mets, their shopping isn't done. They still need to add some starting pitching. They still need to add some bullpen. They could use a hitter as well. Their shopping is not done. $765 million is just the first bit here. They've already added Frankie Montas. They've already added Clay Holmes. Their shopping is not done. And wow, wow, wow. Tim, I hope you're here in the chat. I know you've been watching our videos quite a bit lately. He's our resident Mets fan. Congratulations, your team gets Juan Soto. Cole, Mets, they do get Juan Soto. Incredible get here. Largest deal in professional sports history. Jeff passing with that one. Let's go ahead and update our feed here and get some numbers for you. $75 million signing bonus. Present day value of the contract, $300 more than any other player in history. Wow. Wow. He has an opt-out after 5 years with no deferrals. I don't think he'll opt out, but if the money continues to explode in the sport, the deal that he just signed could even be topped on top of that. Just incredible money here. Let's see. There's a report that he wanted to be a Met, something about the trade deadline in 2022. I do believe there is some truth to that. I think when he was traded to the San Diego Padres, I think his expectation was that he was going to be going to the Mets. Maybe that's where he first got the destination in his mind, if that's where I want to go. But boy, this is the biggest win the Mets have ever had over the New York Yankees. Getting their top guy, aside from Aaron Judge, obviously. They get the top free agent. They outduel the Yankees for him, and they get their guy. Ethan, massive overpay. Should have been 10 for $500. It may ultimately be something along those lines, a lot shorter if they do the opt-out, of course. But I don't think it's a massive overpay. I mean, there's so much money in the sport and so much money in Steve Cohen specifically that even if you consider it a massive overpay, what makes it a massive overpay is it restricts you from doing other things. That he's not going to produce for you in the lineup. If he was injured, say 14 out of those 15 years, yeah, it's an overpay. If they weren't able to field a team around him, yeah, it's an overpay. But we're talking about Steve Cohen, who's already got so much talent on that roster, is currently constructed, and he's still going to add to it. To me, that's not an overpay. I mean, there's not a salary cap in Major League Baseball. Major League Players Association will never allow it. They have the competitive balance tax, all those kinds of things, luxury tax, whatever you want to call it. But it's not a salary cap. And so, Cohen, as long as he's willing to spend the money, it's worth whatever they deem it to be worth. And so this may ultimately get them to a World Series, push them over the top, and let them beat the Dodgers in a NLCS and get them to the series. And right now, on paper, I would say the best two teams in all of baseball are clearly in the National League, possibly even the top three. One, I still have the Dodgers. Two is clearly the New York Mets right now, and I would argue the Phillies are number 3, Braves probably number 4. Just incredible the way the New York Mets have reshaped their roster and done things differently with that ownership group coming in. Just incredible offseason here for the New York Mets, kind of solidifying themselves as a dominant force in the National League side for at least the next 5 years. You look at Juan Soto, he's just entering his age 26, 27 season. This is his first years of what would be quote-unquote his prime. He hasn't even touched his prime years yet. You're going to be buying 6 to 7 of those already. He's going to be hitting free agency if he opts out at age 31. He could do what Aaron Judge did right now at an even higher level when he gets to that point. It's going to be ludicrous how much money this guy is going to be worth over the next several years. But 15 years, $765 million is a nice fallback option if you decide to opt into the deal. So, incredible deal here. Let's go ahead and update one more time, see if anything else is here. Opt out after the 29, we just mentioned that one. With Soto going to the Mets, Santander and Hernandez will be the focus of teams willing to spend on an outfield bat. Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Dodgers are the teams that are in that category. I do think this is the one corner outfield signing for the Mets. I do not think they will add another one. They may even look to offload Starlin Marte. Now the Yankees are looking to add some offense now that Soto is gone. Bregman, I would imagine, is their first choice. We'll see if they get that option done. They could go the first base route. They could go, Pete Alonso and try to steal him away from the Mets. For the Mets, the next question becomes, what do you do for that starting rotation? Are you still in there at this level for Corbin Burnes now that you've got Juan Soto? Are you willing to go, say, $300 million, $250 million for Corbin Burnes? It may require it to get it done because those teams that had money for Juan Soto now have money for those other guys as well. So we'll see what the Mets do. For the Blue Jays, they are going to be really in there for Alex Bregman, I would imagine. Corner outfield is going to be a need there. Santander and Teoscar Hernandez are going to be key fixtures for that Blue Jays front office this winter meetings. I'd imagine one or both of them will get a deal before the end of the winter meetings. Red Sox are also looking corner infield and corner outfield bats as well. Dodgers looking for a right-handed hitter outfielder. Teoscar Hernandez is seen as their top target right now. Wow. You bet the Mets spend another $300 to $400 million this offseason? I would say that's a very safe bet. I think they're probably going to spend at least another $200 on a starting pitcher, and I think they're going to add another bat. I would say it's going to be closer to $300 million. $400 I think it would be if they went really high on a Corbin Burnes and then added another impact piece, offloaded Starlin Marte, and created some flexibility with some more finances. But they have the money to do whatever they want to go out there and do. If they identify Corbin Burnes and they want to get him in there, and they say Alex Bregman, come on down, Pete Alonso, come on back. All of these are irons in the fire right now for the Mets. They are not done. Just absolutely incredible deal here. MLB Network breaking down the deal, 15 years, $765 million. I'd say it's a good bet that Juan Soto's very happy that he turned down the money the Washington Nationals offered him all those years ago, $450 million. He just made himself an extra $300 million by waiting. Incredible. Absolutely, it is great for baseball. Will there be signings during the winter meetings now that Juan Soto has made his decision? Absolutely. This is kind of the best case scenario for all of us that are baseball fans for the winter meetings. You get the Hall of Fame announcement. 2 hours is usually the moratorium before you start seeing deals made. We saw that for Michael Conforto. It was roughly an hour and a half. And then right as we log off here, I'm like, all right, I'll be live if something happens. The second I log off, 5 seconds. 5 seconds go by. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jeff Passan pops up. 15 years, 765 to the Mets. That's how quickly things are happening right now. And oh, by the way, this deal is probably going to stop things for tonight. Industry is going to shake and be like, oh my God, it's so much money. Is this an overpay? Is this an underpay? Whatever the case may be. But there is going to be a kind of a reverberation around Major League Baseball. You're going to see other teams move quickly to their other targets, though. But I would expect a flurry of activity tomorrow. This could very well be the activity level of the winter meetings that we've been expecting for the last 10 years that really hasn't happened since the Albert Pujols winter meetings all those years ago. This could really be that level of winter meetings this year. Let us know in the comment section what you think of the deal. What do you think happens with Bregman? Where does he go? Is it too much money? Is it too little? Treinen back to the Dodgers, 2 years. Let's see. I don't see it yet in my feed, but I trust you there, JG. It does make sense. They were looking to bring back some bullpen help. Treinen kind of gives them another ninth inning option there. I would not be surprised if they went after Devin Williams, even if they did bring back Treinen. Just waiting for that announcement in my feed here. Wow. Juan Soto is apparently FaceTiming Donovan Mitchell. Wow. This is baseball when it's best. It's just fun. I mean, as a baseball fan, I root for, absolute chaos when it comes to movement. Baseball's better when you see things like this. Will Bellinger be traded this week during the winter meetings? I don't think so. There's too much money for it to get done. Now, sure, the Mariners or some other team might be able to entice the Cubs to be able to get him dealt, but I think the Cubs would like to get something done at the meetings. It's just a matter of whether or not other teams are going to give them an offer they're able to accept. Alexander broke the Trinan news. Trying to remember, was it Alden? Turn off my caps lock again. I forget his name. You're saying Ari Alexander. Is it this one? Yep. Underdog. Okay. 2 years, $22 million. That's 11 per. That's a pretty good number for a back-end closer. So, Dodgers have the money to be able to get it done. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in my baseball feed for you guys, because he seems to have a little bit of information as well. Put him in my baseball list. Okay, let's update this again. There he is. Now he's in the feed there. 2 years, 22 for the Dodgers. Wow. Will the Cubs sign anyone during the winter meetings? I do believe they will. Yankees for Bregman, not a bad call. I'm telling you, the Yankees are going to do something with that money. They're not just going to sit there and be like, well, I guess we lost our guy now. I guess we should just close it up, pack it in, we're done. They're not going to do that. They're the New York freaking Yankees. They're going to go out there and get their guy. It's a question of who they're going to see as their guy now that Juan Soto is gone. I'm so glad San Francisco signed Adames now. He would be $215 now that Soto is gone. Yeah, you absolutely bet. I would say Bregman's number just jumped another $20-25 million. Just the fact that Soto went somewhere else. Maybe even $30 to $40 million more than what we were expecting. We're going to see boats raised all across Major League Baseball with Soto now going for that number. It's incredible. Adames doesn't change the Giants at all. That team has been. I would disagree with that one, Ethan. This is the first good, positive step that Giants team has had in 5 years. This is the first great piece that they've added to that roster, and I don't think they're done. I think they're going to add a starting pitcher that they actually want to be there. Not somebody that's like, I guess I have nowhere to go. I'll take the money from the Giants and leave after 1 year. I don't think that's happening again. I think Buster Posey saw an opportunity to improve up the middle, build out the team from the infield or from the center of the diamond outward, and that's what he did with the Adames signing instead of going after a guy like Juan Soto. If they sign someone, who do you think it will be? If I had to guess, I would say probably a corner infield or corner outfield bat. I think they would prefer to make a trade first, but as far as a big-time signing. But I do think they'll add somebody along those lines. I think there's a possibility they could get a deal done with Walker Buehler as well. They traded Snell for Adames. I mean, you're taking $40+ million for Snell going to the division rival Dodgers. You're bringing in a younger player in Adames who solves your lineup problems every day. I would say they needed lineup help more than they did rotation. So I actually like that. If you're saying it's a trade of Adames for Snell, I would actually prefer them to have Adames because their needs offensively were far greater than their needs in the rotation. They needed somebody to carry that offense. They had nobody and they haven't had anybody in that lineup since Buster Posey retired that anybody feared with any regularity in that lineup. And so bringing in Adames really does give them something to build on going forward. So I wouldn't poo-poo it too much, Ethan. Alrighty, let's get back onto the main story with Juan Soto going to the New York Mets. New York Mets signed Juan Soto, 15 years, $765 million. They are no longer the punchline of SNL. Wow. Wow. Look at this projected lineup. Alvarez behind the plate, first base Vientos, barring whether they do anything at first base with Alonso. Jet Williams, barring whether or not they do anything there, in 2028 anyway. Jesus Baez, Francisco Lindor, Brendan Nimmo. That's some pretty good options in 2028, and they're going to do different things as well. From Ari in my DMs, Pete Alonso is likely to return to the Mets now, even though it was obvious Soto signing cemented that. Really? You think so, huh? I'll believe it when I see it, is the way I look at that one. Because Alonso, I think, could get some big offers out there from other teams that might look to try to pry him away from the New York Mets. Now that they've spent the money on Soto. Now, I don't think Cohen's going to let him go for free. I don't think they're going to allow him to leave for, nothing. Ken Rosenthal tweeting on the Trinan News. Go ahead and flip over to MLB trade rumors. Just, wow. I'm still in shock at the Mets actually getting their top target and stealing him away from the Yankees. Until you see it, until it actually happens, it's always hard to believe. I never thought the Yankees were necessarily the overwhelming favorite at any point during this time. I am surprised that, along with the rest of the baseball world really, that the Yankees were close enough in the race to where if things were close, you would normally believe the Yankees would get their guy. The Yankees had roughly $5 million more on the table at a lower AAV. I'm sure there were some deferrals in there. But just, wow. Alonso and Bregman to Yankees for less than $765 million. I would agree with that one. But I don't think both of them go to the Yankees. I mean, it would be a heck of a back page story for the Yankees to lose Soto, for the Mets to lose Alonso, and for them to be on opposing teams in the Subway Series. That would be incredible TV, don't get me wrong. Bregman, I think, is far more likely than Alonso. I think Alonso is very likely to go back to the Mets. I've always felt that because first basemen don't really get paid in free agency anymore. It's not like, 2010, 2011 when Albert Pujols, Prince Fielder, etc. all got paid 10 plus year deals. Those aren't happening anymore. You're going to see, 5-6 years at 20 to 25 million. You're not going to see $40 million for Pete Alonso. Best case scenario for Alonso is probably 5 at 25. That's probably the best possible deal they could get. Now, as far as the Yankees, I think there are other first baseman options that will probably suit them better anyway. I think Christian Walker is the best first baseman on the market, including defense. I think Alonso's a great power hitter, but they already have that. And, I think a better fit for them would be go more versatility, more bat-to-ball skills. Christian Walker might not be as feared as far as the home run threat, but I think he would be incredible in New York or anywhere that he goes. I think he's the best first base free agent right now on the market. Let's see. Soto didn't want Yankees clearly. I wouldn't say clearly. I would say that he really liked the Mets, that they paid him more average annual value, that he's going to make roughly 50 plus million more if he just takes the deal that's on the table, and escalators could take it to well over that in addition to it. So, I would say that Juan Soto did incredibly well with this New York Mets deal. We'll see how the details actually come out about it, but I'm really excited for Juan Soto in a New York Mets lineup and what that looks like for them going up against the Phillies and up against the Dodgers. I think they now have a lineup that can compete with both of those teams. It's just a matter of whether or not they finish off that team. Bringing back Alonso, adding a starting pitcher, adding a bullpen option, I think are the priorities now for the Mets. But I would expect them to turn their focus primarily to Corbin Burns and to Pete Alonso. I think Pete Alonso very likely to go back there. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's 100% going to happen, but I would say it's far more likely than, if say they had gotten Juan Soto and then went for Christian Walker and already filled their first base, then they'd just be looking at him as a DH. I don't think that would happen. I think Alonso would look to go elsewhere. If they bring in Burns, I think there's every bit of reason to believe Cohen's going to continue to spend on this roster and see it as a chance for him to do what the Dodgers did last year. The Dodgers bring in Shohei Ohtani 10 for $700, but they don't stop spending. They bring in Glasnow, Teoscar Hernandez, Yamamoto, among others. This is the opportunity for the Mets to do the same thing this time around. Paul, Chapman, and Adames left side, moving Fitzgerald to second base. If they can get Burns and someone for first base, they should be good. That's kind of my thought, too. Adding a first baseman and then a starting pitcher probably would round out their offseason for the Giants. I'm loving these early signings. Makes the offseason more fun. I couldn't agree more. I told you guys in the beginning, I expected Juan Soto to sign early. And that's what he has done. If he saw the best case scenario for us as fans of Major League Baseball to have an active winter meetings was to have him sign before the winter meetings, like right before the winter meetings. The Sunday of the winter meetings, right after the Hall of Fame announcement, they get 1 day or 12 hours roughly now to kind of reset as an industry, figure out what they're going to do with the Alex Bregman contract, the Alonso contract, with Burns, what their next targets are going to be. Tomorrow morning should be very active, probably around 10, 11 o'clock, and then we should start to see some more names begin to fly off now that Juan Soto is off the board. Vinny, I know you're a Mets fan. Congratulations to your Mets on getting their guy for the first time over the New York Yankees. This is incredible. First time the two teams have really competed for a player that they both wanted, that was on one of their rosters the year before. Incredible, incredible offseason for the New York Mets already. You're thinking Bregman to the Yankees, 6 for 205. I think 6 is going to be too short. I think Bregman's probably going to get 7 or even 8 years at this point. I think 6 for 156 was a little light already from the Astros. I was expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 for 210, 220, somewhere in there. I think now with the signing of Soto, the Yankees are going to be absolutely desperate to sign somebody to fill that void in that lineup. Phillies, I think, could make a run at Bregman. Red Sox could make a run at him. Blue Jays absolutely will. Astros, of course, I think are there as in the periphery. If he really wants to go back there, he's going to have to sign for a significantly less. But there is so much money out there in the sport right now. Bregman's going to do great. I would expect that contract to get upwards of 7 for 240 right now, maybe even higher than that, maybe 7 for 250. I think the Yankees might have to go that high to bring in Alex Bregman. Let's go ahead and update our page one more time here. More fallout from the Trinan signing and from the Soto signing. The Mets are now unquestionably the big ballers of New York. No deferrals, 765 over 15. If Steve Cohen really wants someone like he showed today, he will get them. Unprecedented and incredible. Mets fans are lucky and in for an incredibly exciting next 15 years. Now, Marino, New York-based reporter anyway, take it with a grain of salt, but I do get the point here. The Mets have never won a free agent chase like this before in their history as a franchise. Ever. And they did it against the crosstown rival New York Yankees. Just an incredible work by that front office, incredible willingness by that front office and their owner to be able to spend at this level. And that deal, like I said, could get over $800 million before it's all said and done. Maybe even more if he opts out and signs for even more money later on. But it sounds like 2022 is what he wanted, or around the deadline is when he really got it in his head that being a Met would be a good idea. Obviously, a down year in 23 for the Mets, a good year in 24 for the Mets. But the Mets were there with the money to be able to sign him. They have a spot in their lineup for him as well. Marte obviously is not the long-term answer there anymore in the outfield. He slots in easily as their corner outfielder, and when he does eventually slow down defensively, which is not going to be for a while, he's still got at least 6 years left of prime baseball left. Once that deal starts to turn a little bit sour on the defensive end, you move him to DH and you live with the success of the 7 years of his prime. Now, if you continue to have good results after that, absolute gravy. But you're getting the prime years of one of probably the top 5, 6 players in all of Major League Baseball. I would say Ohtani number 1, far and away, not even close. I would even argue he's the best player to ever play the game at this point. Aaron Judge is in that conversation. Yordan Alvarez from an offensive perspective. Corey Seager from an offensive and defensive perspective. Nobody thought he would stick at shortstop this long. I think he has a candle in that conversation as well. And then on the pitching side, there's very few aces that truly dominate the way the game that a team like or a player like Pedro Martinez or Randy Johnson would back in the day. There's no longer a Max Scherzer that takes the ball from start to finish every single start, or a Cliff Lee. There's still some great aces out there, don't get me wrong, but they usually pitch a little bit shorter, so their impact is a little bit less than it would be, say, 5, 10, 20 years ago. That's why these position players, the value of those players being able to play every single day, going to post, which is what Juan Soto does, what Alex Bregman does, those guys are going to do very well in free agency, and he gets the greatest deal ever in professional sports history. 15 for $765. Congratulations, New York Mets. Congratulations to Juan Soto. Hats off to you guys, and hats off to Major League Baseball, and finally getting something to happen like this during the winter meetings. Absolutely incredible to get this to kick off the winter meetings. I'm expecting a great winter meetings now that we've got this one going. So be sure to join us. We'll have a live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Be sure to join us live for that one. Be sure to join us around 1 o'clock as well, as we have an afternoon update, and then we'll have another one in the evening. If anything big happens, we'll of course let you guys know about it, but this is the biggest domino that we expected to fall this offseason, and it goes the way of the Mets. 15 years, $765 million. Ethan, you're going to say Bregman, 8 for $210. I think that's a little cheap. We saw that the Astros, quote-unquote, token offer for 6 for $156. I mean, even if you just stick with, say, $30 million a year, 30 times 8 is $240 million. I think 210 would be way too light for that level of length in the deal. Bregman has been a playoff performer, has over 400 Major League at-bats in the postseason already. Has never really hit the ceiling, though, and that's why I think there's more money there. But thank you guys for joining us. Vinny, I'll see you guys later. We'll be live again later on tonight if there's something else that happens tonight, but I do expect the industry to slow down a little bit as far as the big news tonight, as the industry kind of settles with what the options are. Maybe the New York Yankees will turn and pivot quickly. They already had a deal lined up with Bregman if Soto went elsewhere. That could be the case. If it is, again, we will come on and be live for you guys. But appreciate you guys joining us tonight. But the big news of the day, of course, Juan Soto, 15 years, $765 million to go to the New York Mets. What is going to happen next with the New York Yankees? We'll check in on all the fallout tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. Be sure to join us for that. We'll check in on the rest of Major League Baseball as well. What's next for the Blue Jays? What's going on with other free agents? Now that Juan Soto is done, is the corner outfield market starting to move with Teoscar Hernandez, Anthony Santander, Jurickson Profar, Jock Peterson? Starting pitchers, does the attention turn now to Corbin Burns and Max Fried? Do the Red Sox, now that they're out on Soto, pivot to getting their starting pitcher and then the corner outfielder? Be curious to see which direction, which order of operations they view as more important, the starting pitcher or the corner outfielder. I think Soto was far and away the best player on the free agent market. That's why he took up so much of that time from those organizations. But ultimately, the Mets are the team that wins the sweepstakes. One last check here to see if anything else is breaking at the moment. Still about the Trinan deal and the Soto deal. Check in here as well. Wow. I'm with all of you guys. I'm still absolutely floored to see Juan Soto go to the New York Mets. But congratulations, Mets fans. You finally get your guy. Hopefully you guys have a great evening. We'll be live again tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Y'all have a great one.